Hello and welcome to the CWU TV News Roundup, featuring all of the major headline stories from around the Union this month. As usual, you'll be able to find out more detail and extended reports on all of our featured stories on the CWU TV website and in the Union's online magazine eVoice. Just look out for the icons you see now on the screen that show you where. Coming up, Royal Mail pensions resolution at European Parliament. The Post Office receives funding boost from the European Commission. Telefonica O2 final pay offer rejected. And Ofcom announced greater commercial freedoms for Royal Mail. In March, the European Commission announced that it had ruled in favour of Royal Mail Group receiving state aid approval to allow the UK government to take on the Royal Mail pension scheme and deficit. This will mean the government taking control of £28 billion worth of assets currently within the pension fund. The CWU said that the announcement was very good news for postal workers and claimed the decision as a success for the union's long-standing campaign.
We're satisfied that what's going to be left, what Royal Mail will be responsible for in the future, which is maintaining the salary link, final salary link of the scheme, that will be fully funded going forward, and that the scheme going forward is deficit free. So with the solution, they've got more security on their pensions. The company's finances are transformed. We'll still have to deal with the issue of privatisation, and I believe that we can deal with those things. So all in all, this is a good news story for our members.
CWU has welcomed the announcement that the BT pension scheme's deficit has reduced by almost £5 billion in 3 years and says the repayment agreement for the remaining deficit is good news for all at BT.
It's good news for all our members, not just our members in the BT pension scheme, but it allows for the long-term sustainability of that scheme, which is good. The issue now is that we're freeing up that money. You can invest in other parts of the company, which hopefully will see benefits for other parts of our members' membership.
The Communication Workers Union has welcomed the European Commission's green light for £1.15 billion worth of government funding for the Post Office over the next 3 years. However, the union has urged the Post Office to use the money for investment and growth, not manage decline.
The union is pleased with the investment from government that the European Commission is authorised. We've reached a national agreement to protect our members' terms and conditions, their pay, and all our collective bargaining agreements will transfer under TUPE at the time of the transfer, which is the 1st of April 2012. But our concern is that the money the Post Office have now got from the government should be used properly, and growth should be the way forward, not decline.
A triple alliance of European trade union leaders took a pan-continental message of protest against austerity to London's French, German and Greek embassies at the end of February. Marking the Europe-wide Day of Action, Germany's Claudia Menet and Didier Ott of France were joined by CWU General Secretary Billy Hayes, who's the current TUC spokesman on Europe.
We want to show to the embassy in the German embassy here in London, that we are very much concerned about the way Germany is behaving on austerity measures, imposing austerity measures to the whole of Europe, and we want to call for alternatives.
In France we have had a reform against pension retirement schemes. So obviously the things are changing, not in the better way, and that's what we want to stop now all over Europe.
There is an alternative austerity, there is an alternative to job cuts and deflation, and that is it. Alternative is about growth, growing the economy of the UK and growing the economy of Europe.
Tory MP Fiona Bruce has made an attack on trade union facilities, speaking out against public funding for facilities, buildings and the check-off system. It's the latest in a series of attacks by the government, who are currently seeking further restrictions on strike action and the removal of facility time for union representatives.
This is a government of millionaires, and trade unions represent working people. And trade unions have a role to play in looking after their members' interests. And trade unions are going to be here long after this government has left office, and we're here to defend our people, and that's what we intend to do.
Residents, postal workers and local councillors from Prince's Risborough made the journey to Royal Mail's central London headquarters in February to protest against the company's decision to axe the Buckinghamshire Town's delivery office. The closure would see Princess Risbah's 24-strong team relocated to join forces with Aylesbury's existing 80 postwomen and postmen.
We're outside Princess Risbah delivery office. We're going to London today, protest Moira Green, the Chief Executive, to basically force Royal Mail to relocate us in our town. We've identified a unit which needs a little bit of modification, and hopefully after today Royal Mail will reconsider and relocate us in the town.
We are continuing with negotiations with senior management of Royal Mail. Hopefully they'll bear fruit, but we need to be able to continue to demonstrate just how much, the depth of feeling there is within the community on this issue.
Now let's take a quick fire look at some of the other headlines hitting the news this month. CWU Midlands Regional Secretary Lee Barron has been overwhelmingly re-elected for the second consecutive year as chair of the Midlands Trade Union Congress. The CWU has reacted angrily to the government's failure to fulfil its promise to strengthen the law on dangerous dogs. The government said an announcement regarding changes to the 1991 Dangerous Dogs Act would be made before Parliament broke for the Easter recess. However, no announcement was made. The CWU is conducting a survey among members in BT to gather their views about performance and sick absence management practices within the company. The confidential survey can be taken online and is particularly seeking views on whether BT employees feel there have been improvements over the last year regarding company practices. Billy Hayes has insisted that the union will strive to ensure that nobody is priced out of accessing the universal service, following the rise in postage stamp prices. The decision by industry watchdog Ofcom to permit Royal Mail to remove price caps from first-class stamps and raise the upper limit for second class to 55p are among a broad range of measures aimed at changing the regulatory regime in the UK postal industry.
Ofcom's deregulation will have a significant impact on prices. It's freeing up the company to set its own prices and have greater flexibility. Now, while we've accepted that prices will need to rise to help address Royal Mail's financial difficulties, we do really have concerns about the impact on domestic consumers and small businesses, and we really want to make sure that the regulator looks carefully to ensure that the universal service remains affordable in the future.
CWU members in Santander, UK have voted by 91% to endorse a new pay deal. The deal is a considerable success for the union's negotiating team. We spoke to Assistant Secretary Nigel Cockgrove to find out more.
The agreement in Santander UK is obviously against a difficult background in the banking sector. It's an increase which is significantly higher than pay rises in the other main high street UK competitors and was the best we could get through negotiation. And I'm very pleased that our members have endorsed the agreement by such a large margin.
CWU members responded to the call of International Women's Day by joining the Women on the Bridge event in London, aimed at celebrating the strength of women around the world and call for justice, peace and equality. Members of the union's Women's Advisory Committee marched with thousands of others, including celebrities and activists like Cherie Blair, Bianca Jagger and Kathy Lett, to show solidarity and demand change.
CWU are here because obviously we are showing solidarity to all women throughout the world.
It's very important for women to make the voice heard. You know, we have issues as well, and those issues need taken forward, and we're the best people to do it because we know what we're suffering with, and I believe we can do that if we do things like this en masse. People will start to listen to us.
This is the day when we stand up and say we're all together, we're all going to fight these terrible atrocities what are taking place throughout the world, and stand together as women to say we won't allow it to happen. We will fight it.
The CWU have responded to Chancellor George Osborne's 2012 budget by stating that it offered little for ordinary working people whilst cutting tax for the UK's wealthiest people and continuing to cut public services. Although the union welcomed confirmation that the government will take on the Royal Mail pension deficit, the union said that the budget offered little new investment for superfast broadband and claimed the Chancellor had wasted an opportunity to invest in universal access to broadband.
Well, the feedback we're getting from our members is this is a budget for the rich. You know, we've seen a cut in the top-rated income tax from 50 pence to 45 pence, and we've seen it being paid for by the pensioners. And we're also talking now about £10.5 billion in welfare being cut. So it's a budget for the rich, and I think people are very, very angry about it.
Last-ditch pay talks between the CWU and Telefonica O2 have broken down after the company refused to improve its final below-the-rate-of-inflation pay offer. The union moved to a consultative ballot of O2 members, recommending the rejection of the offer.
We see next steps as getting back into discussion with O2 and sitting around the table and really thrashing out a deal which is acceptable to our members, which will be an increase in the current money available on the table for 2012, assurances or even dropping the 2-year deal, and something on pay progression. I mean, this has been an outstanding issue since 2010. It's not acceptable that they implemented the pay progression terms by executive action. We want a collective agreement on this. I'm confident that they will understand that we, as the negotiating team, are representing the interests, the views and the feedback of our members, and that they will improve the offer.
And finally, Labour's London mayoral candidate Ken Livingstone met with union members from the Mount Pleasant branch last month to spell out his plans for Londoners if they return him to office. On transport, housing, jobs, energy and education, Labour's nominee promised to put people first, with a comprehensive programme aimed at making life better for ordinary Londoners.
Boris Johnson clearly stands for a very small privileged elite. He campaigns to cut the top rate of tax for the richest 1%, but won't defend local hospitals being threatened with closure. He goes on about tax on Europe because he's posturing in order to become the next Tory leader, replacing Cameron, whilst doing nothing to look after the interests of ordinary Londoners by keeping fares down, restoring the cuts in policing. This is a mayor more than anyone else, only focused on a small elite. All of my policies are about doing the best you can for the vast majority. And therefore, this is the clearest choice, whether you look at it in terms of Labour Tory or class terms or straightforward ideological terms. No one can go into this election saying they're all the same. They really aren't.
The CWU is supporting Ken Livingstone's campaign to be London Mayor. For more information, please visit the official Londoners You're Better Off With Ken page on the CWU website. Well, that's all for our roundup. Until next time, thanks for watching.